just so you know. Yep, so we're recording. So what is the H system? I had no idea before starting with Oway that a H system like this could exist. It's pretty an ingenious concept that Oway have introduced. The H system is put together to assist you guys as stylists and colorists, so you can actually maximize your results during your color process in salon. There is no other brand out there that actually has a full H system like this, which is pretty cool. So what it's doing, it's ensuring that you are going to get the best results, leave the hair in the best condition possible. And obviously, if you do that and your hair is in really good condition because we're treating it along the way, obviously the work that we do in the salon, you're going to get longer results out of. And that in turn is breeding like a loyal clientele for your salon, which is great. I'm not going to go too in depth on every single ingredient in each product because there is a lot. Basically, I'll give you an overview of the ingredients and the active ability of those, and then we'll break down each product and we'll say what it is and actually how to use it, which I think is just as important. So obviously, all the main active ingredients in the H system overlaps to some point. Obviously, some products have more of a certain ingredient and other products have less, or some, if it's an oil-based product, mightn't have all of them, but they have higher concentrations of the active ingredients that we'll go over. So obviously, like Oway, we have biodynamic ingredients, we have organic, and then we have ethical ingredients. So the three main biodynamic ingredients that are actually in Oway's H system is hibiscus extract. We also have our cotton protein and our jojoba oil. So our cotton protein, you'll find that runs pretty much generically across all of Oway's products. It's in our color, it's in our developers, it's in all of our H system. So it's rebuilding the hair. So adding a phytoprotein, it's basically keratin. So during the H system procedure, we're strengthening the hair as we go. So you'll find that certain products like Hmilk will have a higher concentration of cotton protein, as opposed to say Hscreen, okay? Because Hscreen isn't really rebuilding the hair, it's more of a protective agent. From the organic line, we have Borrelia oil, we have our peptides, and we also have our phytoceramines. So once again, we're rebuilding the structure of the hair with our peptides, and also our moisture levels controlled. So anything to do with a lipid or a peptide, that's what actually helps us retain moisture in hair. So not only does it repair the hair, but it also basically circles the hair as you rinse it out and helps lock in that moisture. So peptides are really, really important. Excuse me. And also our Borrelia oil has really high amounts of a product called, or an ingredient called a flavonoid. So not everyone knows what flavonoids are, but flavonoids are the highest antioxidant ingredient that you can get pretty much in the world, and it only comes from plants. So basically what that's saying is it's this really strong antioxidant that's going to help protect the hair against free radicals, but you can't make it as a synthetic. Okay, so we're very lucky that we have Borrelia oil in our products because our restoring agent or our antioxidant is really high there. From our ethical ingredients, we have date oil, which is highly moisturizing. We also have rice bran oil and our wheat protein. So our wheat protein is really important because once again, that also improves the elasticity of the hair. So that's a hydro moisture controlling agent as well. So all these ingredients, like I said, are all in different measurements and different amounts in our H system, but they're all just as important as each other to create the product to help keep our hair really healthy. Does anyone have any questions so far on the ingredients or what we've covered? Nope. Clear as mud. Our first product, which I'll talk about, is our HTEC shampoo. Okay, so HTEC shampoo, it's a great product. It's a technical preparation shampoo. So you can use HTEC shampoo prior to doing any sort of chemical service in the salon. So whether you are a salon that does perming or chemical waves, as I like to call them these days. So I don't remind myself when I trained when perms were very popular, or a keratin smoothing treatment, any sort of relaxing service, or if you're wanting to prep the hair prior to any sort of color service where you have a really high concentration of either product buildup or that client that does have a lot of oil or grease in their hair that you need to remove out. It's really good for removing overuse of styling product, or if someone has used a toning blonde shampoo at home that can build up over time. We've all seen that. And what happens is the hair gets a bit muddy when you build up layers upon shampoo like that. So HTEC shampoo has a pH of about an 8. So, which is pretty much where our H color sits in the way that the ability for that cuticle to be open. So in the case of, you know, really strong resistant gray coverage, you can do a HTEC shampoo hair first and then roughly dry off and apply your color. I always use it as my last resort when I'm doing gray coverage, but it works really well that way. How you use the HTEC shampoo is obviously at the back basin, wetting the hair down. Try not to over massage the hair a lot when you do it. If you over massage the hair when you're using HTEC shampoo, because you do get a really good cuticle open effect when you use it, you can find that your mid-lengths and ends of your hair can get a little tangly. So how I find the best way to use it is just very lightly rub it into the scalp and then massage it through the hair with your fingers and let it sit for a minute. Like let it do its job without you like ruffling the hair up. You then rinse that out. And then if you need to, you can repeat and do a second one. If the hair is really unclean or has a lot of buildup, it's not going to lather a lot like most shampoos. You're better off not using more. You're better off letting it sit for a minute, rinsing it out, and then repeating the process. The second shampoo will lather up a lot more. But once again, don't over ruffle the hair, just let it sit for 1 to 2 minutes and rinse. So you'll get a really good high cleansing action and it'll prep the hair up for your next service, what you're doing. And remember that it does have a pH of an 8, so it is actually like really high in the ability to open the cuticle. Next, we have our HBalance Shampoo. So HBalance Shampoo is a product that we use after we do any sort of H color or H nectar service in the salon. So it's a neutralizing shampoo and it's designed to remove that color. It also rebalances the pH of the hair. So all the liquids in the Hsystem range have all been pH balanced to work next to our color or to pre-set the hair up. So it's really hard to get a pH of an oil, but any creams and liquids, you can do that. And so the pHs are listed in the Opedia, but the rebalancing action of this and the neutralization of the color or any alkaline residue is where the H shampoo comes into. So it is nourishing, it's extremely nourishing on the hair. But what it's designed to do is, as we use Cocamide MEA as our pH adjuster, so every product has a pH adjuster that obviously allows the cuticle to open and close when we're coloring it. MEA is ours as opposed to ammonia, which is what a lot of other brands use. When you put water on ammonia, it turns to a gas. Okay, so you can rinse ammonia out of the hair purely with water, but you'll also breathe it in at the same time. With MEA, when water hits it, it turns to more or less a solid. So it basically just sits there. So we need a special shampoo that's going to neutralize that MEA and actually remove it. So that's where HBalance Shampoo comes into. So it's really, really important that when you are doing a H color service or a H nectar, you always do your wash with HBalance Shampoo. I have been asked the question, can I do one wash with HBalance Shampoo and then can I use the moisturizing range or the color range? I'm not going to say no, you can do that. As long as the first shampoo you do with the HBalance Shampoo is a really good one, just to make sure that color is removed. So I would make sure that when you're rinsing the color with water first, that you get all of the color out before you do your HBalance Shampoo. If you're going to do a second wash with another Oway product at the back bar. If you've got a little bit of color still sitting on the scalp, or you know how sometimes there's a bit of color here and we just get the shampoo in because it helps us out, I would then definitely do a second one with the HBalance Shampoo just to make sure all that color and that MEA is being neutralized and to prep the hair up for the next stage. So it's really important that we always use HBalance Shampoo to wash that out. One of the main reasons, if we don't, your color can still oxidize. It's not going to make H-bleach make someone's hair go white blonde to the point that it damages it if you don't use it to the two shampoos. But when a color oxidizes, they can go a little darker. So it's really important that we wash that out just to stop the neutralization. The next product we've got is your HBalance mask. So this is a beautiful product. The main ingredients or the reason for the HBalance mask is it's really, really nourishing, and it's a rebalancing mask. So it's got a very, very, very low pH. So its pH is between 3 and 4. So what that means is, as a product, it's extremely acidic. So it'll really shrink that cuticle back really, really low. So our HBalance shampoo has a low pH as well of about a 6. So that's brought the 8 down to here, and then the cuticle, and then our HBalance mask really shrinks it flat. You'll find when you're using the HBalance mask, the ability to run a comb through the hair is amazing. That's because we've closed the cuticles really tightly. We're adding nourishment, we're resetting the pH level on the hair. It does need to be on for about 3 to 5 minutes. Normally when you're rinsing a color or you're doing a post-color service at the basin, it includes a scalp massage for the client. So generally, by the time you've done a really beautiful 3 to 5 minute scalp massage, the HBalance mask has done its job. But its main job is to re-normalize the pH, detangle the hair, and add protection and nourishment as well, which is great. Next is one of my favorites. I've actually got a couple of favorites, but Hmilk No Stress would have to be one of my all-time favorites because it's so universal as a product. I basically call it, I mean, a lot of people are familiar with a lot of brands that have, 1 and 2 part core restructurers that you mix together, or you do a step 1 and step 2. I think Hmilk No Step is our step 2 in our core restruction as a product. It's beautiful as an after or post treatment for color. So it's a protective milk. So it's like a cream, it feels like a cream conditioner. It's specifically designed to use incorporated with technical services. It protects, conditions the hair during the wash phase between that service, which I'll explain later how to use that. Keeps the hair moisturized. And also we mix it with our H-Tone developer, which is our 9 volume when we want to create a 4.5 vol or a 3 vol developer when we tone hair. So Hmilk, I use it a lot because I do a lot of toning. And I also, if you're lifting hair, it's a beautiful treatment to use in between. Excuse me. So as an example, if you're doing a client and you're lifting up for a color correction and you've removed a lot of dark pigment out of the hair, before you would go in with your target shade, you could wash off your lightening product, do a Hmilk No Stress treatment at the basin on towel dried hair for about 2 to 3 minutes, rinse that out, towel dry, and then you would put your final color on. So what you're doing through all the strands of the hair is you're adding that protein. Okay, so you've got the phyto protein in there, so there's your keratin. You've also got magnesium in Hmilk. So magnesium, as we all know, is a salt, and we all know magnesium is really good for your body. People take it as a tablet form, you can bathe in it, all sorts of things. But magnesium being a salt, the first bonds in the hair that get broken are disulfide bonds, and disulfide bonds are made up of salt. So when you're putting protein and moisture or a lipid back into hair, they're not going to hold onto the hair as much as they would unless you feed it with some salt first, or you're repairing those disulfide bonds. So magnesium goes in first, then you got your protein, and then your lipid, as you rinse it, will encircle the hair shaft, locking in moisture. So that's why when you do a Hmilk No Stress treatment, the hair feels amazing. Like it's really, really, really good. So that's where it now becomes like a step 2 in a core restore sort of product. Post-color treatments, awesome for that. Great for people that have got fragile hair. So you might get a new client to the salon and they're a blonde client and their hair naturally is a little bit fragile and dry, and they want to be blonde, and you know that, okay, H-bleach is a beautiful product, but I'm still going to stress the hair out because I'm lifting it. That's where you would go in and do a Hmilk treatment. After you've rinsed your foils, towel dry it, put your Hmilk on for 2 to 3 minutes, rinse it off, towel dry the hair and then pop your toner on as well. It's really good to use that way. As a standalone treatment, a client could come into the salon for a treatment, and it's a bit of an all-rounder because it is protein and moisture. So to increase your treatment menu, you can do a Hmilk no stress treatment and even apply some Hmilk drops in it and do a color enhancing treatment at the same time. So it's a beautiful product to be able to, because you can do so many different things with it. When I'm toning anyone's hair with natural hair present, so foils, balayage, I always drop my volume to 3. Technically, they will say anything under a 7 vol won't lift hair, but I found that it does. Even a 4.5 vol will cut into that cuticle layer that little bit, not to expose too much warmth, but it can give them like a regrowth line, and you don't want to do that when you tone. So mixing Hmilk on measurements with our H-tone will give you a 3 volume, which is beautiful. The color can sit on all day and you'll get absolutely no root lift whatsoever. But the good thing about this is when you're toning a client, generally you're toning a client that's had a lightening service done. So when you're adding Hmilk into your H-tone, they're getting an extra treatment at the same time as you're toning the hair, which is really good. So the hair feels amazing after it's done. So we did one just not long ago on a girl with a demo, and she had full head of H-bleach foils. We didn't do the Hmilk no stress as a part 2 treatment. We just mixed it in with our H-color as a toner. The hair was like silk. It was absolutely amazing. So we're coloring hair and treating it at the same time, which is really cool. And then obviously when you're wanting a 4.5 vol, you mix it equal parts with H-tone. And that's really good for when you're toning a client's hair that's had like a full head lightener application, or they've had tint and some foils where there's no natural hair present. So that's going to give you the toning effect, but you don't need to dilute the peroxide level as much. Is that clear with Hmilk and how that works? Yep, cool. Next we have HRestore. So think of HRestore as not so much a watered down product of Hmilk, but just a different way to apply it. Like it's a softer result of Hmilk. So HRestore, basically to sum it up, is a vegetable protein spray treatment. Okay, so it rebuilds the keratin structure as well. It's a lighter weight and can be left in the hair, whereas Hmilk you need to rinse out. HRestore you leave in. Okay, it gives strength. It acts as a porosity filler, so it's really good. So if you've done a HTEC shampoo prior to any sort of chemical service, and you're doing a keratin smoothing, or you're doing a no wave curl, or a color for that matter, you can spray the HRestore first through the hair before you apply the color or do the chemical service. That's going to even out the protein in the hair. So it makes your service that you're doing more even, especially with color. I find it really good to use at the basin after you've shampooed your color off. So say you've done some highlights and you're going to tone mix up a toner and put through. The hair mightn't be fragile, it mightn't be really stressed out, so there's no need to do a Hmilk no stress, okay? But what you can do, and I do this on everybody, I will spray through HRestore through the hair, just a couple of pumps, just a light mist, before I run the toner through. So adding that phytoprotein, so keratin into the hair, color molecules are attracted to protein. So the stronger the hair is and the more protein that's in the hair, the longer and better your color result's going to be. So I always spray it through hair at the basin before I put a toner through. It's great to use if you've done a client's regrowth color and the ends, you're going to run a color through to color match the ends or color balance them. But they might be a little bit uneven with porosity. They might have spent 3 weeks at the beach and their hair's kind of lightened up and it's a little bit, stressed out on the ends. Put HRestore through the ends of the hair before you color balance or before you color refresh the ends as well. Once again, you're adding protein. Color is going to be attracted to that protein and it's going to stay in and last a lot longer. Like we talked about, it's great before a chemical wind. It's also really good as a post-colored spray. So I know we've got our color protective spray as well, but if you've got someone's hair that you've done that's had a big color correction, or it is a bit stressed out, put HRestore in it after you finish the color as well, because all you're doing is you're adding more of that lipids and that protein to the hair. It works as a really good detangler, and then use it as a cutting agent while it's in there. Spray it in, and then you can put your styling product over the top and blow dry it in the hair and leave it in. The more you put in, the better it's going to be. The good thing about all of Oway's protein and being vegetable-based protein is, unlike a traditional or a synthetic keratin, it doesn't harden in the hair. So, you know, sometimes if you've used a lot of protein in someone's hair, or they've been on a program, a home care program where they're using a lot of protein, and their hair starts to dry out, starts to get a little brittle, it can actually work against what you're trying to do. All of our protein and moisture is balanced in the Hsystem range, even right through to the care range. So putting HRestore in it after you've finished it, it's not going to make you blow dry hard. It's not going to stiffen the hair up or anything like that. It's still got those lipids in there. So it's moisture controlled protein, which is really good. Next, we have our Hscreen. Hscreen is one of my favorites too. Like I said, actually every single product is a favorite of mine, because you will always use a little bit of something on someone. Hscreen is amazing. It's a protecting skin fluid, basically. So it's an oil. It creates like an invisible screen between your scalp and your product. It protects the skin while it's processing. It's really good for protecting hair and scalp, or not so much hair, sorry, the scalp against when you're doing dark colors, because we all know that some skin tones really like to absorb pigment, others not so much, but anything under a 6 in most brands, you're going to get some skin stainage on there, especially those who love to absorb the color. With your application, like a traditional barrier cream that's been used, normally we'll use my hairline as an example. When you're doing a color, you have to put your product on your skin only, and if you touch the hair with it, you're obviously going to stop the color from penetrating onto the hair color. And if you're doing gray coverage or any color for that matter, you don't want to miss bits around the hairline. That's the worst thing you can do, because that's obviously where the client's going to see. So what I love about this product is, if you're not putting it onto the hair as well, and then you paint the color, you're still going to get color stainage onto the skin, because you can't put the barrier cream right up against the hair. How you need to use Hscreen, and I've seen people use it and not use it quite correctly, is you actually put it like half a centimeter or a centimeter onto the hair and onto the skin. So you're creating like that mid hairline is like a runway, like a middle line down. The product will go through the oil and color the hair, but it'll stop the skin from staining. Okay. So when you're first using the product, or you're introducing the product, a lot of people just tap it on the skin, then they put the color on, and they're still going to get a line where it's actually staining the skin a little bit. So make sure it's okay to go right around the hair. On the tops of the ears, if you're doing a lightening, when you're doing, or a client's got a low graduation haircut at the back, or you're doing a guy's color and you're doing a level 3, 4, 5, particularly if you're using a cool pigment, and when a guy's got a graduation, you're going to see color on his scalp, at least, you know, for the first day or two. You can put the Hscreen directly into your product. Okay, so 4 to 5 pumps of Hscreen goes directly into your bowl. You mix that in with your color. If anything, being an oil, it makes your color super shiny. It's really, really good. So it works as a bit of an extra treatment because of the product consistency and what's in it and ingredients. But it really does protect the scalp from staining. So I find that's great to do that. When you're doing a full head lighten with H-bleach, we know with H-bleach that we can use 30 vol when we do a full head lighten. But if someone comes to you as a client and says, you know, I'm sensitive, everything I've used before makes my skin tingle, we know that using H-Color or H-Nectar, we're going to be able to reduce that for them. But I would still play safe and put the Hscreen directly into your bowl of color when you use it, especially with H-bleach. I do it with every single H-bleach that I do, whether it's 20 or 30 vol or 15 vol, whatever I'm using. Or 25 vol, I meant to say, sorry. With your color, it's going to act as a protective screen. and help reduce that sensitivity. When you have a client that suffers from psoriasis, generally when they have a color, if it's a non-open wound psoriasis case, I mean, if they've got wounds that are open, I'd be very skeptical about putting anything on their hair. I would wait for it to clear up a little bit. But generally when you do a Hcolor or a Hnectar and they have psoriasis on their scalp, it clears it up. It almost works like a treatment and they get like relief for about, 2 or 3 weeks out of it. But we still want to reduce that sensitivity to the scalp. So it's amazing for people who suffer from psoriasis to put that product straight in. Anyone who's bumped their head or have had a little cut or nick or something, or have just an area of irritation, apply the Hscreen with your finger directly onto the scalp and rub it into that area, and then put the color straight over the top as well. So it's a really good product to use for reducing irritation, and obviously its main purpose is for color protection as well, and stop the stainage, which is great. And then you get the added benefit of shine too. It's really good for that. We have Hypercolor is our next one. So Hypercolor is the little one in the little bottle. So it's been developed traditionally as a time accelerator. So when you're doing a color, it grants reduction in the processing time to 1/3 of what it normally would be. So all the measurements and the guidelines are in the Opedia with Hypercolor and how to mix it in. Being an oil as well, it nourishes the hair fiber, which is really, really good. It's like a treatment as well when you put it into the hair. What I've done is I've broken down the measurements to make it a little bit simpler for you when you're using Hypercolor. For every 10 grams of color that you put in the bowl, I would add 4 drops of Hypercolor. So if you're doing a 30-gram mix of Hcolor, I would put 12 drops of Hypercolor into your bowl. It's really important that you mix the Hypercolor in with the tint first, and then you add your 45 mils or 30 mils of developer, depending on what ratio you're mixing, and then you mix all 3 together. The reason being is that being an oil, how it works is the Hypercolor will encapsulate our color molecule, and then when it's mixed with the developer, it works on positive and negative charges. So it helps draw, or actually pushes away. So it pushes the color in, which then draws it into the hair. So when you're doing a Hypercolor or using Hypercolor as an accelerator in the salon, you do need to add heat. So the way that we teach it is you get a cap and you can perforate some holes in it. So it's a cap that you can actually wash and reuse. You put it over the top of your client's color when it's on, and those holes just allow the heat to move around in there and regulate it. And then you would have put the client under like a medium heat source. And basically what it's going to do, it's going to process a color that would normally take 30 minutes in 10 minutes, okay? A lot of salons these days don't use heat accelerators. So therefore Hypercolor isn't going to quicken your processing time down to that point unless you are putting the heat on it. But you can do that and it works really well. We also use Hypercolor when we're doing some resistant gray hair coverage. Some people use it all the time for gray coverage. I've done half heads where I've used it with and without. When it's super resistant gray, I will always use Hypercolor. Mix it on the same ratio for 10 grams of color. You add 4 drops in, okay? Obviously our mixing ratio for gray color changes. So it's a 1-to-1. So equal parts color, equal parts developer when you're doing gray hair. Mix the Hypercolor with the color, then add your developer in. Unfortunately, Hypercolor doesn't grant a reduction in processing time with gray coverage. We don't encourage you to do that. We really strict on the 45-minute processing time minimum for gray coverage. What the Hypercolor does in this case is even without added heat, it will still give you a longer processing time in result. So roughly you'll get about an hour's worth of processing time with a 45-minute processing time if you add Hypercolor into your product when you're doing gray coverage. The longer the product's on gray hair, the better result you're going to get. Okay, so obviously in the salon, we always, when we're running to schedule, we don't have, an hour to process colors at all, really. So Hypercolor is great for grey coverage because what you're doing is you're ensuring that you're going to get that saturation or that greater saturation with the product in a 45-minute processing time. So it's a really good tool to use for great coverage. Another way you can use it at the basin is in your toners. So I'm a huge believer with toners that 1 minute on equals 1 shampoo. Okay, so we're all putting toners over hair that's been pre-lightened, the hair's been weakened. You know, we've done everything we can by adding protein, we're restoring the hair, you're putting the H-Restore before you put your toner on. But if you only leave your toner on for 5 minutes, you're going to get 5 shampoos out of it because that hair does work like a sponge and lets the color go. So I encourage people to choose your toner correctly and leave it on for the full processing time if you can. So there's no point choosing a stronger ash because you want counteraction and waiting it to grab in 5 minutes and then removing it because you'll get the toner that you want, but it won't last the long term for the client. So soften your toner mixes, do a proper consultation, choose the right color and leave it on for 20 minutes. If you don't have 20 minutes, Hypercolor is amazing because you add it into your toner color first, mix it together, then you would add your 4.5 volt or your 3 volt, depending on what you're toning. Run it through the client's hair, make sure that they're comfy at the basin, and then put a towel over the top of their hair to stop any external draft. And the heat that they're creating from their scalp will actually warm that up or warm the hair up. So in 10 minutes of processing, you'll get a 20-minute result. Okay, so what you're doing is you're saving time in the salon, you're not running late or you're fitting more services in, but you're also ensuring that your client's going to get a long-term benefit out of that toner that you've just done. So I use it, if I don't have that time to put it in, I'll always use it in my toners as well. And last but not least, you can use it in your treatments. So if you want to turn a moisture mask or a color mask or a smoothing mask as a treatment, you can actually put the Hypercolor into your mask as well. Now remember, it's an oil, it's going to make the hair really shiny, it's nourishing, so you're boosting that treatment up as well. You've given the client a really beautiful scalp massage, you make them comfortable. Go and grab a hot towel, whether you've got a hot towel cabbie or you can make one and bung it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. Put that over the client's head as well. The heat that that's creating will drive and push that treatment deeper into the hair. So about 5 minutes under about 3 to 5 minutes under a hot towel. We don't really get a full 5 minutes out of a hot towel because they cool down too quickly, and you don't want to leave a cool towel on a client's head because that's not nice. So it only needs to be on for about 3 minutes, but that will give you about a 10-minute processing time of that mask. So the hair is softer and the mask being penetrated deeper. So it's really nice to use the products we've got at the basin and turn them into more of a treatment, charge for that, and actually get a really good benefit out of it as well. So using the Hypercolor in the treatments is really, really good as well, or the masks. All make sense? Yep. Now we have two new, well, not newish members, but they're newish members to our Hsystem education, and they'll be added on when we're doing our orders and things like that for our Hsystem. We have Hbright is one of them as well. So some of you may know what Hbright is, and I know I've done some treatments in salons with Hbright and we've seen it work. Others know about it but don't really know how to use it or not sure what it is. So I'm just going to run through what Hbright is. I love Hbright. It's amazing. There is never a day in the salon that you're doing a client's color that you could not use Hbright. From a salon owner's point of view, it's going to help cut costs in the salon because it's a more affordable product to use for when you want to use it for some of the topics we'll go over. But I love it. So it's an ammonia-free treatment. And its main reason is to give light and vibrancy to dull, flat hair. It's really super easy to use. And it allows you to offer, like I said before, more cost-effective treatments in the salon when you're working. So how do we use Hbright? Well, it's a liquid. Okay, so it's runny, not like a color. Okay, so it's got the consistency like of a thicker shampoo or like a gelatin-based shampoo. You can do lots of things with it. So for one example, you can do a shine treatment. So we can do a no lift shine treatment with Hbright. So a client that comes into the salon or you've got a spare space and you're doing a haircut on a client and they fancy having a treatment and they're like, I just want my hair super shiny. Mixed with a 3 volume, the Hbright will just add shine to your hair. Okay. So it's going to add the shine, it's going to build the strength and nourish the hair all at the same time. And what you can do, you can also add the Hmilk drops in it. So say that client had some faded out highlights and you wanted to refresh them with a bit of gold, or they could be natural coppered hair, or they could be an artificial pigment coppered hair. You can actually add the Hmilk drops to the Hbright gel treatment and do 2 in 1. So you can do a color enhancing shine treatment. It's beautiful. So mixed with a 3 vol, you'll get no lift whatsoever. You might do a set of highlights at the basin and you look at them and like, you know what, that's beautiful. All I want to do is put a clear on it. So your other options are using 0.0 and 3 vol or Hbright and 3 vol. So you're just doing a clear shine treatment straight over the top of it. If you wanted to add a little bit of mysterious purple in it, if you wanted to add a bit of tone, you could, or you could put a dash of, divine golding with that and make a beigey color if you wanted to. There's so many different, obviously, tones that you can make with the Hmilk drops, but putting them into the Hbright at the basin as an after or post highlight treatment, amazing as well. You can use it directly on its own, mixed with 20 and 30 vol as a shine treatment, mixed 1-to-1. So if a client comes in and they're looking a little bit, their color's looking a little bit flat or it's looking a little bit dull, mixed with 20 and 30 vol, the Hbright gives you a lifting action, okay? A little bit like a base breaker in a way. So if they've got artificial pigment in their hair and their color's faded off a little bit and it's gone a little bit dull and they just want it brightened and refreshed, mix it with 20 and 30 vol and you'll get that half shade lift out of the hair. Just be aware that if they've got a regrowth, you would only want to apply it to the mid-lengths and ends of the hair. Obviously, you don't apply it to where their natural hair is because that you will obviously break their base when you do that, and that's going to look funny because it's 2 different levels you're working on. If they've got natural hair and they just want that, half shade lift, that brightness put through it, roots to ends straight through, because obviously you're working on one single pigment. There's not artificial or natural pigment. It can also be mixed in with H-Color and H-Nectar during a color service. So say you can put your color on your regrowth without Hbright. So it never goes into your regrowth formula. It only goes into your end formula. But then you're color balancing the ends, and you might want it a little bit brighter and refreshed and more shiny. You actually add about 10 mils of Hbright to your color mix, and then you mix your developer with that. So when it's mixed or when it's used on its own, it's always a 1-to-1 mix with our H catalyst. When it's used in your color, it's incorporated on top of the color mix, and then you would add your developer on depending on what you've got. So if you've got 30 grams of color and 10 grams of Hbright, you would then use 45 grams of developer because it's a 40-60 mix, 1 to 1.5. It's not an add-on like a concentrate is. It's actually incorporated into your color mix. So it's a really beautiful product to use individually, and it's case specific on everybody. Some people might just want shine with no lift. Other people, you might want to use it as a toner. Other people, you might want to do a regrowth application. We did one the other day and we did our regrowth, and she had some old color through the ends with some foils that were faded right out. So she was a level 5 and she had some softer sort of caramelly colored foils put through. So we did her regrowth because she had gray hair, but through the ends, we did a Hbright only we made a 25 vol and we added divine gold into it. So her ends got brightened up with no color, with not using any H color whatsoever, because our alternative was you would have to go lighter, say maybe use a 9.3 and do a semi, but we didn't really want to just deposit pigment. We wanted to brighten the hair at the same time. It was a beautiful result. So it's a really, really good product to use. What I'm going to do at the end of today is I'm going to upload the Hbright and the H Blonde brochures to our Facebook page. So you can go on there and download them, because in there obviously is the full instructions on how to use it as well. So last but not least, we have HBlond. So HBlond is a technical toning shampoo, and it's a great product to use for maintenance of blonde, white and grey hair. The reason why HBlond comes in a pink label, it's the only product that we've got out of the H system that you can retail, that a client can actually take home. But the reason why it's in a pink label is because you can use it at the basin because it's got a color pigment in it, okay? And it really does tone. So the three main areas that you're working with or want to do when you're working with blonde hair is you obviously want to neutralize yellow if it's in there, or any orange reflections. You want to obtain bright, shiny hair, and you want the hair to be healthy and strong. So the ingredients in HBlond shampoo do all that. We have obviously a violet toning pigment. We've got ingredients to add strength, which is our protein. And then we've got our lipids for our moisture control as well. Mullen and Doc add loads and loads and loads of shine to the hair. And our date oil as well will increase the elasticity. So it's a perfect product for toning blondes. And blondes are all different. You know, we've got ash blondes, gold blondes, platinum blondes, gray blondes, caramel blondes, even blondes that, you know, have more of a purplish tinge to them and you want that. But 90% of the time that we're achieving a blonde, we're lifting hair up, we're lightening hair. So we're also damaging the moisture and the protein in the hair, which we need to correct. And at the same time is when we wash our hair, we're washing all that beautiful toner away that we're putting in. So that's why we have blonde toning shampoos on the market, because we want to maintain the blonde that we've done in the salon and send them home with a product that they can actually use at home themselves to do that. Oway have put together some amazing customized formulas of how to use the HBlond shampoo with the Hmilk masks and the Hmilk drops in salon. So depending on what blonde you are, whether you're a caramel blonde or you're just a neutral cool blonde, or you want to be an ash blonde, we've got some really good instructions on how to use it. And that will be in the HBlond PDF that I'll put on the Facebook page when we finish today. And it's a step-by-step run through of using the shampoo, adding the Hmilk drops into it, depending on your blonde, and then what product that client needs to take home with as well. One good thing is that, say, for example, you've done some highlights at the basin and, you know, you don't really need to do a Hbright. You don't need to tone. You just want to use a product that's going to put a little bit of coolness to the hair. That's where the HBlond comes in as a technical product for you to use, because it does have a color pigment in it. Just be careful though. It starts to tone quite quickly. It is a really good, strong violet pigment, which I like, because there's a lot of blonde shampoos out there that don't really do a lot. HBlond does work really well. So just be aware of what color you're putting it on, to how long you need to leave it on for. And you'll know that at the basin because you'll see it work. So if you've got a client that, you know, you've achieved this really amazing blonde, and the HBlond is just to keep it lightly refreshed, make sure they know that. When they go home with it, generally people think, you know, oh, you know, they'll massage it in and they'll leave it on for a super, super long time. And all of a sudden their blonde starts to get flatter and flatter and flatter, because that pigment's building up and it's darkening the vibrancy or the creaminess of that blonde. So it's really up to us to let them know that, you know, you only need to use this product weekly. And in your case, 2 minutes is all you need. Some clients you might need to say, okay, you need to use this twice a week and I want you to leave it on for 5. So as a stylist or colorist, we need to take ownership of how our clients are using toning blonde shampoos, because some people use them the wrong way and it just creates problems for us when they come back in to have their hair done. So the pigment of that works really, really well. And I love it. It's a great product. And like I said, it's the only one out of the range that the clients can take home. Everything else is in salon, professional use only. So I will jot them up on our Facebook page. So that's pretty much a run through of the H system and how it all works and where it fits in. You'll have your favorites. I like them all, but there's particular ones that I use more because, you know, they achieve great results for me and how I want to use it. Does anyone have any questions on the H system or how it's used, or they need something clarified if they've used something and they haven't got the right result with it or something like that? No? I've explained everything so well. That's great. Cool. Awesome. I am going to be on here at the end of the month doing a HNectar run through. And I'm going to cover obviously what HNectar is and specifically how we can use it when we tone as well, and the benefits of HNectar as a toning product onto the hair, being a rebuilding plumping treatment as well. So you'll be able to register for that through my Instagram, or also on our Eco Salon Supplies website. You'll find a link under Salon Partners for that as well. Lovely. Okay, thank you so much for your time, everyone. Have a great day. And if you do have any,
that was cool.
Yeah, no worries. Pleasure.
Thanks, Grant.
More than welcome. Okay, thanks guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.